Welcome to the Pigskin Party Podcast, the only podcast that combines real NFL analysis with a splash of pop culture and a dash of the random. Let's get this Pigskin Party started with your hosts, Brian McFadden, Will Southard, and Tommy Yu.
Welcome, everybody, to the PPP presented by DraftKings. My name is Brian. If you're listening or watching for the first time, please subscribe, rate us, review us, and you know what? Tell a friend, because that is how we grow this Pigskin Party. We've got a full party again after it was just me and Tommy last time holding down the fort. We made it through, but Will is back. Anthony is back. We had actual production quality. But we'll start with you, Will. Haven't seen you in a couple weeks. How you doing, man?
Well, it's Halloween, and my kid just came out, right before the podcast. My kid almost killed herself, and she's knocking on my door, not literally. And I open the door, and I'm thinking that she needs to be tucked in, and she says it's stuck, and opens her mouth, and she has an impacted, cemented, green Jolly Rancher that will not come off her teeth. It's just like a brick, just cemented.
It's like it's just like wedged, or it's like stuck on the front.
Oh yeah, no, on the tooth. And I'd take my big finger and pry this thing off of her tooth piece by piece. And then I go, "How much more candy is in your room?" And she's like, "None." And I said, "Tell me the truth." And she's like, "Just one piece." And so she goes over to her dresser, like real fast, opens it up, pulls out a open wrapper, half-licked strawberry bonbon. One piece. And
she
hands
was
it to
telling
me.
the truth about the one piece. At least.
And shuts her drawer and stands in front of it. And I said, "How much more is in there?" And she said, "Nothing." And I said, "Move, open it." There was 25 candy wrappers in that drawer, bro.
Brazen.
There was no more candy, but there was 25 wrappers in that drawer.
They were all empty. Like she had already.
Yeah.
She was telling the truth. There was only one left.
That is correct. A half-licked, and like, what's the hate with strawberry bonbons, bro? That's disrespectful. Like these are good.
So Will wasn't actually offended that she lied and had so much candy. She was upset that the strawberry bonbon wasn't good enough for her.
That's
if
where
I
the
look,
real
I
insult
guarantee you
comes
there's
from.
a tooth mark on this strawberry bonbon right here. Anyway, yeah,
Well,
I'm good.
Here's a teaser for the flavor of the week. Our palate cleanser might just have to do with Halloween candy, so we can continue this bonbon versus other Halloween candy discussion. But first, Tommy, how you feeling today?
You know, I feel like I blew it this past week with like picks and stuff like that. I don't
Trust
keep
me,
track as I should.
I did much worse.
Oh, okay. So that actually makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
So now hearing that news, I'm doing great, man. Actually, just for our listeners, I know you guys probably aren't that interested, but I recently invited Brian into my pristine special invite only PDL, which stands for the Special Dynasty league I created. And of course I'm biased, but I feel like the league is popping, but I've been kind of I'm the defending champion and I was cruising to another title. And then of course Brian comes in and now he's like it's unbelievable. He has the same record. I don't want to talk about too much, but I'm doing great, Brian. You're living rent free.
We face off this week and you're missing one very, very key player.
I'm sure we'll talk about the news and stuff like that, but I might be a little extra emotional. If you guys need to know why, this was a good introduction to why that might be. But other than that, I'm doing great, man.
So we are going to touch on some news. It's not something we've really done much of since we started the regular season. We've mainly been doing game recaps, previews, obviously all of our daily fantasy stuff. But there's a lot of news. The trade deadline was today. There were some key injuries. Before we move on, though, Anthony, give us some sound effects. We attempted to go live a few weeks ago, failed miserably multiple times. I wasn't even going to try it by myself with Tommy, with no producer. So, Anthony, boing if we are actually live on YouTube, and wah if we are not.
Awesome.
Or just decide not to put any sound effects and make us look like
Anthony has actually quit. And
hey, it's working.
It's working. Great. Well, you know what? If we're live, Anthony, you're going to have to be much quicker on the sound drop cues. I know we can't see you because you put our lovely artistic faces of the podcast logo up, but you're going to have to actually be ready to mash those buttons. So, guys, we're speaking into the ether live. People could tune in and watch us. We figured out yonder technology. Are you guys ready to keep doing this thing live?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so let's quick recap. So I'll let you know this, Will. Since it was just Tommy and I last week, we decided to call an audible and completely switch things up. We've been doing game recaps and previews and picks for the upcoming week and our daily fantasy advice and all of that stuff in the same episode. Tommy and I are like, no, let's switch it up. We're just going to do game recaps in this main episode. So we're going to go through week 8, the whole slate. We're going to have a little bit more time to kind of give our thoughts, our trends, our takeaways. We'll still do our DFS hires and flyers. I hope that you actually prepared. Probably not, but that's kind of your thing. And then we will, on the flavor of the week, that's where we're going to do our game previews and picks for week 9. And it'll be the last time we're doing it just the 3 of us. There's a teaser there. We're going to change up the format yet again starting next week. So let's go ahead and jump into some news. But Tommy, I want you to drop this news. So there was some big injury news that actually didn't come out until Monday morning. Why don't you hit us with it and the people, maybe one person watching on YouTube?
I have been very biased to the king. Y'all should already know who I'm speaking of. Even on my fantasy island, this
LeBron?
man. Oh, LeBron could only wish to reach peak athleticism. No, I'm kidding. LeBron James is a freak. But King Henry, Derrick Henry, running back from the Tennessee Titans, had a very, very serious injury that will knock him out, if not for the remainder of the NFL season, but at least the remainder of the fantasy viable season. But regardless, the poor prince has been run into the ground as everyone has been predicting. But please, Brian, enlighten us. How serious is this injury?
So he actually just had surgery on his foot. They said the minimum time frame is 6 weeks, but I think realistically we're looking at more like 8 to 10 weeks. Basically, he's out for the regular season, and optimistically, they'll have him back for the playoffs. With the win over the Colts, the Titans look like they're pretty much in the driver's seat to win the AFC South already because the Texans and Jaguars are pretty much just trash, and they have a nice edge over the Colts with that victory. So, hey, they'll be playing in the postseason. Maybe he can. He's a freak of nature. He'll probably heal quickly, like Wolverine, and be ready for the playoffs. But for the regular season and some people's fantasy teams, he will not be available. No thoughts. You don't even have no retorts there. It just okay. You don't want to talk about it anymore. Tommy's like, I'm just going to choose not to comment.
I mean,
I'm broken. I'm broken inside right now.
We're like Rip Titans, right? Like Adrian Peterson is not Derrick Henry.
Not at this age, certainly. Yeah.
Right. So,
I think one fair thing to say is, actually exactly what Will just said. I guess we're going to have to find out if AJ Brown is for real, right? Because I feel like the offense has to change.
Yeah.
But can this be a pass-first offense? This is an offense that has relied on giving Derrick Henry 25 to 30 carries a game or more, and then the play action off that. Tannehill excels when he's able to work off of play action. Do we think, even if Adrian Peterson is half of what he was even last year in Detroit, this has to be a pass-first offense, right?
I mean, like, it had to happen. Like, they were giving Derrick Henry way too many carries. So, but they have no functional second running back. I mean, except for the week that I play Derrick Henry, and then whatever that bastard's name is, I forget his name, will vulture a touchdown, and then I just feel awful about playing Derrick Henry. But I mean, they kind of are a run first offense, but not all the time. I mean, this season, yeah, but last season, not always, right? Especially in the beginning of the year. So I don't know.
But I think what opens that pass game up is the threat of Henry in the first place. He's such a dynamic weapon. There's very few running backs that are so valuable to their team. I guess we'll see. If the Titans go on a run and only lose a handful of more games and just cruise into the playoffs, maybe that really drives home the argument that running backs aren't worth that much in the NFL. But if this Titans team struggles, which I think they will, then we'll see just how valuable King Henry is. Other than that, there were a handful of trades. The biggest one, Von Miller, future Hall of Famer, edge rusher, lifelong Denver Bronco, was traded to the Rams for a second and a third. So the Rams just treat their draft picks like your daughter treats her candy. Just strawberry bonbons. Doesn't matter. Just throw them out. Get whatever they want.
Von Miller is a strawberry bonbon for sure.
That's the takeaway is Von Miller is a strawberry bonbon. We can't edit any of this. We're live, so any of the crazy stuff we say, any of Will's takes, yeah, we have no choice but to let him to go out there on YouTube. So, I mean, we've known the Rams are all in. We saw what they've over the years. They haven't had a first round pick, I think, since Goff in 2016, which is insane to think about. They only have, I believe, 2 draft picks left in 2022. They literally have traded all of their other picks. I think their first pick is in the 4th or 5th round. Do we think it works? Do we think it pays off? Eventually, they're going to crash and burn. They've got the salaries. They're not going to be able to pay all these people. But do we think this really gives them enough of an edge to make it worth this kind of trade? Tommy.
Normally, I think it's just really cool to see an NFL franchise utilize like draft picks as currency almost, instead of saying we don't have to use this. We could just try to use this to get players that are already proven. And I feel like it will work, right? Because they have Stafford. The biggest question was, okay, that defense is Ramsey. It has Aaron Donald, 2 of arguably the best in their position. Now they have Von Miller, and then all they were missing was a quarterback. Well, now they have Matt Stafford, Anthony's like favorite quarterback of all times. I know he'll go up to bat for him all the time. And guess what? It really is unlocking McVay's offense again. They look unstoppable. Say what you will about them, but they are trying to be as complete as they can and getting depth along the way. So right now, if I'm them, I'm looking at kind of the whole NFL. You see the Chiefs are limping. The Buccaneers just lost to a backup quarterback on like not the best superior team. They're seeing a window that's opening to say, hey, we have a shot at this. We can be the best team in the league right now with the parity that's going on. So, hey, I actually think it could work, especially with the talent they have at least on the roster. I think it's up to the coach to kind of bring them together, and it looks like McVay right now at least has shown that he has what it takes.
I mean, certainly scary, right? I mean, on paper, but they do look like a very complete team. But, you know, that defense hasn't, I don't know. It really hasn't been what you'd think it would be on paper at some times this year, right? Like, so I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he does bring to the table. But I mean, I think it more says about the Broncos than anything. Like, what is that franchise doing? Like, that was their J.J. Watt, right? And they just like put him on the street. And he's had his roadblocks, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, like his rough patch here and there in the past few years, but
he's still been a serviceable, like top 15, even now, even in his early 30s.
Yeah, but I didn't mean that. Didn't he have like a personal thing or something? He had like some weird,
last year. Yeah,
some weird issue, but I mean, certainly beloved, right, by like all the Broncos fans. So I don't know what's going on there, but
J.J. Watt's a good comparison as far as an iconic player at a franchise
with no one left.
With no one left, that you just thought, well, he'll be that, he'll be a Texan, he'll be a Bronco forever. No, they're going to ship him off to the NFC West. That's where all these guys are going.
For nothing.
Well. One more bit of news, almost non-news, and I don't want to dive too deep into this, but Deshaun Watson, 4 p.m. Eastern, came and went, no trade, still on the Texans. Apparently, the Dolphins were very much in negotiations, and then the Texans like, you know what? I think we're going to drive the price up even more. Our quarterback, who has 20-plus civil allegations and multiple criminal accusations, yeah, we think we can get even more than what we're negotiating now. And owner Stephen Ross, owner for the Dolphins, tried to set up a conversation to where he could actually speak to Watson. And by the time the Texans set it up, it was like yesterday. It was like a day ago. So that didn't happen. I'm sure we'll have lots more to discuss in the offseason when there's some of this is likely settled one way or another. There's more teams interested. Any quick comments from either of you guys on the Watson stuff? Like I said, I don't want to put too much time onto it.
I'll just be real quick because I would love to hear Will's thoughts too. But I'm just going to do a quick little victory lap, and then I told you so, because I've been pretty annoyed with what reporters have been reporting with this whole situation. Be like, oh, here's another team that's interested. I'm like, well, what are your sources? Are you just looking at teams that might need an upgrade at quarterback and just saying they're linked? So I felt like every other day they're like, oh, a deal is imminent. It's happening. I'm like, okay. I mean, they're talking about, but I don't think anything's happening. So I'm glad it's over. I'm glad that the deadline, I know now there might be a little bit more ambiguity on the future, but I'm just glad that these like reports are shut down. But I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Will, what do you think?
I mean, I just think the Texans are crazy to not give a team contingencies on Watson, right? Because like this, especially after this year, the relationship is irreparable, right? Like, I mean, they're done. So I actually don't know. I mean, do they have the rights to him for his entire contract? Like, I don't know how many more years are on it, and I don't know how this works out if he just doesn't go anywhere and he just hangs out and they just have to pay him. Kind of hard to see that, come into fruition. I really do think if these legal things get cleaned up, there would be a team that would come in with 3 firsts and pay something outrageous, right? But there's just too much risk with all that stuff unresolved. But I think, just like anything, just like all these things, you kind of, as a football analyst, have to separate the player from the person, right? And just say, given all that worked out, here's the NFL ramifications. Certainly, real life, there's a lot more to that, but it's definitely interesting. I mean, let's not forget our man Tyrod, right? Tyrod.
Hey, you said his name right.
Like, poor dude. Like, are you gonna come back, buddy? Like, we miss you, right? Like, the NFL. Like, what team are you gonna go to next? And then play 2 games and look pretty good, and then lose your job, just like Zach Wilson might lose his job to Mike White.
Might have already. Let's use that as a great segue to go into recapping the Week 8 games. Starting with last Thursday, Green Bay Packers 24, Arizona Cardinals 21. It ended because A.J. Green didn't turn around. The Cardinals had a chance to win the game. They're on, I want to say, like the 3 or 4 yard line. Kyler Murray puts it on him. A.J. Green, who historically has been a great red zone target, and he just literally doesn't turn around. Ball gets intercepted. Ball game. Packers move to 7-1. Cardinals get their first loss. Tommy, any high-level thoughts on this game?
Oh, man. I was duped. I kept thinking I will never pick against the Cardinals because I need to give them the respect that they deserve, but I just didn't respect Mr. Rodgers enough. I feel like what they're able to do in this game against the best team in the NFL, or the last undefeated team in the NFL, that has to be a gigantic confidence boost. And I know they just lost Tunyon too, but I feel like this is the game that they kind of circle and look at when you're kind of look at the season and be like, what was the turning point? Not saying that this turns the season around. They're already doing well, but to know that they could take down a team like Arizona at the condition they were in, that's pretty impressive.
But they can, but we're all in agreement they're going to lose in the NFC Championship game, right? Like that's going to happen. I mean, that always
The
happens.
Bucks?
It doesn't matter.
The Rams?
It doesn't matter. Whoever, bro. Like,
You're saying the Packers
that's
are
what
not
the
gonna make
Packers
it
do, is they go far, and then they fall flat on their face when it matters most. But, I mean, dude, to your credit and to Aaron Rodgers' credit, Rodgers' credit, the man is just unreal. Like, for the Green Bay not to just give him all the respect and deference that he deserves as the face of that franchise, they're crazy. Like, to let that guy walk. Do you know what that team would do without Aaron Rodgers? The opposite of nothing, right? Which I guess is something, but in reverse. Like, that would be a very bad team.
Jordan Love. Be love time. Time for love.
It would be time to love rebuilding, because your franchise would not win another game. So, no, he's incredible, man. And then what's annoying is then you get all those, like, Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady. He's the best to ever play things. But, like, we're not going to get into the rings matter discussion. But he's really good at football.
Somebody said something. I think you put it on Twitter, right? They were just talking about how Rodgers is a superior quarterback, and you mentioned something about rings matter. So, do you care to elaborate, or you just want to pass that over?
But they do matter. Like, this is an age-old discussion about...
It's literally what they play for.
Right. And like, matter or not, Dan Marino will never get the respect that Dan Marino deserves because Dan Marino doesn't have a ring, right? Like, I mean, Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. But, like, 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings, they all matter, right? I mean, especially looking at, like... I mean, heck, 2 rings is the only reason I would say Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Right, and so
there's a discussion.
When you look at the body of work, right? Like, I mean, 7 rings, bro, 8 rings, like,
we don't have to get too far.
You can't compare. They matter.
Until we
matter.
talk about how the Bucks lost and Brady threw a pick six to end the game, then we can.
Well,
then we
but
can
not
talk
even
about the
Brady,
goats.
right? Like, remember? I don't know if you remember, but the Mahomes talk pissed off Troy Aikman back in the day, and this was like I think Mahomes' second or third year, and Aikman said, "Come talk to me when he has a third of the Super Bowl rings that I do," or something like that. You remember that tweet, Tommy? You know what I'm talking about?
I remember it.
I don't remember this. No.
Yeah. He goes, "Come and talk to me when he has a third of my Super Bowl rings," and so that stuff matters, man. But
All right, let's keep going with the Week 8 games into the Sunday early slate. Carolina Panthers 19, Atlanta Falcons 13. This was basically Carolina taking the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands. They rushed for, I want to say, over 200 yards. So good on Matt Rule for making adjustments. I think he even said in his press conference that this is what we should have done last week, the week prior. And if your quarterback is struggling to the level that Darnold is, and they're, I believe, primed to get Christian McCaffrey back finally in week 9.
Can I go on record and say something?
I can't stop you. It's live, man. Just say what you want to say.
I might have been wrong about Sam Darnold.
The respect Sam Darnold, all of that. Yeah, not so much anymore.
He might be legit
Awful.
bottom tier trash. I'm just saying.
Does he get
As
into
a
doo-doo
quarterback.
biscuit territory? Are we?
He
are we
may be a doo-doo biscuit.
Maybe
he
a
may
doo-doo
be.
biscuit. Okay.
Maybe. He's pretty bad at football. Like that. I don't know why though. Right? Like he shouldn't be. I don't know. Who knows? That's all I got.
That's all you got. Okay. Tommy, what do you got? Sam Darnold is a doo-doo biscuit. That's Will's analysis.
Well, for me, honestly, it was hard to kind of pay attention to this game because one of the few times where there's a storyline lingering that was bigger than the game in front of me, and that was that Calvin Ridley news. What a lot of people are interpreting could already be a retirement kind of thing in the message that he put out.
It really read
exactly.
like a retirement.
And besides the words that he read or like put down, it's the fact that this is his contract year. Like, this is the year you're supposed to be balling out for that next contract. And the fact that he's stepping away right now, that within itself is almost showing like, all right, well, this is literally the only time that if you really want to fight your job for longevity for that second contract, that's where you make your, money. But this is now where he's kind of choosing to walk away. So even if he comes back at some point this season, it's already going to be towards the end. So how are you going to do that? Utilize that for any type of leverage for like a contract? I don't know. I think the timing, the way he said it, to me personally, I don't want to sound like I am overreacting, but kind of like you said, Bri, it did sound like a retirement to me.
Well, how about this? What position did Kyle Pitts get drafted?
Tight end.
I believe
technically.
TE.
No,
TE.
yeah, but the number in the draft.
Oh, number 4.
Oh.
Tommy and I were both aligned. We're like,
yeah,
oh,
you're
what do you
both
mean he's a tight
retarded.
end?
I don't understand where that.
You're the
But
one
anyway.
who phrased the question that made no sense.
Listen, you cut it out, Anthony. He was drafted at number 4. Who went number 5?
Jamar Chase.
Exactly, right? And so you look at that, and man, sucks for the Falcons, right? Like,
Oh, you're saying if Ridley had done this last year, they would have looked at Jamar Chase at number 4. Okay.
And I also think that we've seen this a couple times with receivers. Looking at you, Juju, who are fantastic number 2s, right? When they don't have all the attention on them. And I don't know if this is exactly the narrative with Ridley, because when Julio was out, Ridley did produce really well.
Yeah, he didn't skip a beat.
But this year,
Last year.
like, it ain't there. Maybe that's mental, maybe it isn't, whatever. Juju has not been that number 1 guy since Antonio Brown was gone. It's actually been the other receivers, like Deontay and who's the other cat? The Chase. So there's a narrative there, but I don't know. I mean, it's got to be corduroy season, right? For sure.
Corduroy.
They're going to have to use him in all kinds of different ways. Kyle Pitts is going to get doubled. They can't run the ball. They can't defend either the pass or the run. So I don't know what they're going to do, man. They might have to go sign some vet or trade. Maybe they'll sign Ocho Cinco. I don't know. They got to do something.
Side note, who would have picked our boy Corduroy to be a top 10 fantasy running back through 8 weeks?
He's amazing.
Love it.
Just respect, right? Like, all right, that's my new thing. Respect Corduroy Patterson.
Okay, I can be on board with that. I have him on
I like how I
almost all of
said
my fantasy
respect
teams.
and then used his wrong name.
Corduroy?
Yeah.
No, he is Corduroy on the show. We've determined that. So you said
Cordell.
it.
It's not really Cordell.
It's Cordero. It's Cordero. It's not Cordell.
Cordero.
There you go. You didn't even get his actual name right. Stop trying. All right, let's move on. This game win is pretty much, well, not exactly as expected. The Buffalo Bills 26, Miami Dolphins 11. It was actually 3-3 about midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, and I threw my phone because I picked Josh Allen in DFS.
Well, it ended up paying off for you rather well towards the end. But yes, the Dolphins defense actually showed up. The offense played as how they've been playing. That offensive line is one of the worst in the league. They call a lot of play action, a lot of RPO, run pass options where Tua gets the ball out quick. Downside of that is they're not pushing the ball downfield. They haven't all year. And the times where he doesn't have a receiver immediately open, he's just got rushers in his face. It really makes it hard to get an offense together. And the play calling has just been bad. But the defense came together. So as a Dolphins fan, that gave me a little bit of hope. I can't even cheer for them to lose at this point because we don't have our own first round pick. It's over there in Philadelphia and Tommy Euland. But here's the thing. I actually put something in our group chat. I just want to mention this real quick, and then I'll get your thoughts on the game. I'm starting to think it's really on the coaching. And I've been a big fan and supporter of Brian Flores. He obviously has overperformed with the roster he had in both of his first two seasons. But you know, they've had a lot of coaching turnover. They've had a lot of player turnover, getting rid of players who may not be superstars, but were leaders in the locker room, like Kyle Van Noy. Shaq Lawson had a really productive year, and they shipped him off to Houston. He actually had a key play in the Jets-Bengals game by tipping up a pass from Burrow and helping the Jets get an interception. These are some of the players that the Dolphins have let go, but it's also there was a play. So Brian Baldinger does these Baldies breakdowns on Twitter where he breaks down the various plays and you know does film tape breakdown. And he did one of the Dolphins. It was a screenplay where like everything went wrong and they snapped the ball into Mike Gesicki, who was going in motion. It just looked like a blooper reel. But the telling thing is the Dolphins weren't in a rush to go get the ball. When it was recovered by whichever Bill player, Jordan Poyer or whoever it was, they were not in a rush to go tackle him, and then no one on the sidelines was reacting. Nobody was excited or fired up or anything. It was just dead. They looked dead inside, and that, to me, is telling of the 2021 Miami Dolphins, and I'm worried that that's the kind of thing that can't be fixed this
and the
season.
2021 Florida Gators.
We don't. This is an NFL podcast. Why are we
It's
talking about Gators?
it's the same problem, and they're in the same state. It's just a lack of I agree though, right? Like they just not about the Gators, I do agree about the Gators, but about the Dolphins.
Stop talking about the Gators. Back to the Dolphins.
And the Gators. But the Dolphins, it is a coaching thing, right? Like there is urgency, there is, passion, and it's, to his credit. I am not his biggest fan, right? He is not very good. But he has not played awful.
He's
right?
not been the number one reason they're losing. That's the thing. He may not be lifting them to new heights, but he's not the reason they're losing.
The defense is very much underperforming, right? I think the Watson thing, and I said this on Twitter, and I mean it. You might wonder, right? Like, is that the Miami senior leadership and coaching staff trying to put on somebody like Watson, which is inspiration and motivation and leadership in the locker room, what they themselves should be and are not delivering, right? Like, because that would be the thing, right? You sign somebody like Watson, you give all that up. That's what you want. You want leadership. You want production. You want all that kind of stuff,
But can you still expect to get that with all this guy is going through off the field? Like, do players still look at him the same way with everything that's going on? How can
I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying it's a bad reflection on Miami's coaching staff and leadership that could be what they were going after, right? Is like, well, we can't inspire the damn locker room. Maybe we'll get
that's
Deshaun
their Hail
to do
Mary. Yeah, horrible strategy. And
it might not be, but who knows?
And it's not for this season anyway, clearly, because the trade deadline is come and gone. Tommy, any comments on this Bills-Dolphins game before we move on?
No, I think you guys had it all covered. It was a lot closer than the final score looked like, but it looked like Josh Allen finally woke up at the second half of the game. I would say like the last quarter of the game. Then he finally kind of took over. But for the most part, you guys are all right. And I was not a fan of Flores, and I remember saying that beginning of when I slowly got started into this podcast. So I really hope for Brian's sake that everything that we're seeing might be like a big brain move that we haven't seen, but right now it just does not look good out of Miami right now.
Yeah, I mentioned to you, Tommy, because obviously your Eagles they're on and up at least after 1 week, but you've been a little bit of a suffering Eagles fan lately. But you know what it's like for your team to go to a Super Bowl, let alone win one. My team has not been to a Super Bowl since I was 4 years old. So, yeah, I'd like for this to work out. Moving on, San Francisco 49ers 33, Chicago Bears 22. Justin Fields had his best game as a professional. They still lost, and I was reading I think it was on ESPN, where they were breaking down the games, and when 22 points is seen as a good offensive game, your offense has problems. And that's what this came down to, is the Bears looked better than they have on offense all season, and yet they still only scored 22. The defense crumbled, and they lost by 11 to the 49ers.
Yeah, I think that's all. Like, if you're a Chicago fan and you saw that your offense put up 22 points and you guys lost, it's sad because they're still okay with the outcome. And to me, the most exciting part of Justin Fields is not necessarily that he got better. It's that most of the big plays happen when the plays broke down. And that's when Justin Fields could play backyard football, not the whole, all right, let me continue to utilize Nagy's offense and do his play call. So it's almost like he's trying to overcome the coaching.
Nagy. There was no Nagy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's even better. Like, separate himself. But even whatever offensive play Nagy may have had, regardless if he was on the sideline or not, it's kind of when the plays broke down and feels like, all right, screw it, I'm just going to do what I'm going to try to do. And, of course, this is evident when the play breaks down, when he looked like he was going to get sacked, then he ended up scrambling and scored a touchdown.
Fourth down. Fourth and
exactly.
one.
But even beyond that, the times where he looked sharp and I kind of sat up a little bit, said, oh, okay. We're typically off schedule plays. So I'm really hoping everyone kind of wants to see a little bit of a spark, and we have not seen that with Fields yet, but it's almost like that Adam Gase effect. Everyone that leaves Nagy tends to play a little bit better. So even like when Trubisky left, I know he's a backup, but even when he was like in preseason, he looked great. Yeah. So I'm thinking, all right. All right. Now that I saw a little bit of a spark in Fields, I'm thinking, all right, Chicago fans, you have a little bit of hope after Nagy gets fired this season.
Well, on that note, so Matt Nagy's supposed to be an offensive guru, right? He came from the Andy Reid tree, was offensive coordinator in Kansas City, and
he won Coach of the Year his rookie year as a coach.
He did. Won Coach of the Year off the heels of a great defense that year, interestingly. But his offense has been one of the worst in the league the entire year. Statistically, they're at or near the bottom in most major statistical categories on offense. He misses a game because of COVID, and they have their best offensive output of the year. I mean, is that like when will this guy get fired? Do we think he'll actually last the season? Could he be the first head coach to lose their job outside of the Gruden situation?
Well, I think he just needs to look in the mirror, right, and think, oh, well, why was that, right? Like, does he normally call the plays? Like, should he empower the offensive coordinator a lot more to basically run the team, and should he step back? I mean, these are the moments in leadership that, make or break you. Right?
But do you think he's the type of guy that's actually going to step up? Because he's done that before. He said, "Oh, I'm going to give play calling away," but then it's like he's like still involved. Apparently, there's an ego there. I see this ending miserably. I definitely think he'll be fired. My question, Tommy, is whether it'll happen mid-season or not. I'm starting to think it might.
A lot like the Florida Gators of 2021, actually.
Will you stop with the Gators, man? We are not on a college podcast here. Once again, I can't edit it out because we're live. Anthony, can I get some sort of negative sound drop?
What is a negative sound drop?
I don't know. Just if he mentions the Gators, just like, I don't know, shotgun, boom, like shoot him. All right, here was a snooze fest. Pittsburgh Steelers 15, Cleveland Browns 10. Just an old school AFC North defensive, crappy offense. I don't really have any comments on this game.
Well, my last comment, by the way, about the 49ers game is Elijah Mitchell is really good at football. Elijah Mitchell. He's really.
By the way, a quick note: Anthony never put a sound drop. I can't see him. I don't know if he's there. He could have just abandoned the show. There you go. Okay, just making sure. I feel like he just shot me. All right, continue, Will.
And Deebo Samuel is also really good at football. All right, moving on to this game. Odell Beckham is probably pretty good at football, but we wouldn't know that watching him the past couple of years.
He was once upon a time.
That relationship is broken, but they don't want to ship him anywhere, which is really weird. And Kevin Stefanski has gone on record to say, like, he's still a big part of our offense going forward. I don't know. Like, do him and Baker have beef, or like, what is the deal? Like,
he had like one target in the Steelers game. How is that someone who's a integral part of your offense?
I don't know, but they are a run first team, right? I love Kevin Stefanski, I really do, but just two sad teams playing.
I keep picking the Browns. They were my preseason favorite to win the Super Bowl. And I keep losing, and we'll talk about just how bad my picks have been, but this week was particularly bad. Tommy, anything to add on this just sleepy time AFC North matchup between the Steelers and the Browns?
No, the only thing is exactly what Will brought up. There was on like Twitter, I think like Odell's dad put like a clip of, I don't know how long it is, but it's like a clip of all the times Odell's open during the Browns games that he's not getting the ball. And like, so I think it's true. I think there might have been like repressed, not like beef between Odell and Baker, but whatever underlying tension there are after this trade deadline, you would think that they would kind of blow it over and just kind of chill. But now it's kind of like, all right, I'm tired of this. And it's kind of funny because when Gettleman shipped Odell over to Cleveland, everyone was celebrating, be like, oh my God, he's going to be with Jarvis. He's going to have Baker. Oh, he's much better than Eli, so he's going to be even better. But then Gettleman said, I'm going to send you over here to ruin your career, essentially. And that's exactly kind of what has happened. So I'm sure Gettleman is getting the last to laugh.
Maybe Baker should invite OBJ onto one of his At Home with Baker Mayfield commercials where they like do some sort of funny skit and makeup, and then they'll start throwing the ball. Right?
Sure.
There you go.
I think it's beyond repair, though, but we'll see.
Yeah. But then why not trade him? Like, if really, why hold on? It just doesn't make sense. Unless they were just getting absolute crap offers. All right, Tommy, your moment in the sun. Philadelphia Eagles 44, Anthony's Detroit Lions 6. Are you shooting yourself, Anthony?
Yeah,
I don't really know.
he just killed himself. That's what happened.
I think Anthony, we don't have a producer anymore. He's you know what? He's killing his Lions fandom. He's gonna be a Rams fan. It's inevitable.
That's what that was.
That's what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, it's gonna happen. So Tommy, I'll let you take this one away. How good did it feel to see your Eagles just destroy any team, let alone the Lions here?
It was just, it's so funny though, because I think I was talking to you guys right before we started filming. It's like, I don't want the Eagles to win only because I don't like Sirianni, but the fact that the Lions are just so bad, and I'm sorry, Anthony, I'm going this route because I don't want to compliment the Eagles, but the Lions are so bad that they made the Eagles look not bad. Like, they made the Eagles look like a dominant football team, and that's kind of what surprised me, because what they did wasn't anything special.
The Falcons did the same thing in week 1, by the way.
Exactly. And so, like, some of these bad teams are so bad on, like, a whole new tier, because everyone has Eagles, rightfully so, as one of the worst teams in the NFL. And then, so when you see two bottom-of-the-barrel teams go at it, you're like, it'll be a snooze fest, but it'll be cute. Like, oh, they're trying to play football. That's great. But then you see the Eagles just mollywop one of them, and you're like, oh, wow. Like, Eagles are... Yeah, I know. The Eagles are still bad, but the fact that they did this to the Lions, like... I'm even more concerned, because if Dan Campbell was crying before, oh boy, do you have something to cry about now?
Isn't mollywop an Irish term? So to hear a Korean guy say that,
it's definitely not Korean.
It's definitely not Korean.
I know the Urban Dictionary term for this. So if this is like an actual word, I would love to be enlightened.
I know I'm saying mollywop is like a slang term. I don't know if it's an actual word, but I'm just saying the origins of it, I'm fairly certain, are Irish, and 100% certain are not Korean.
Everything that's said on this show is a 100% fact, so I'd be inclined to agree with you.
Will, any comments on this? I don't really have anything to say. I picked the Lions. I'm not alone. A lot of people in the media picked the Lions here. We felt like Dan Campbell's team was overperforming.
DeAndre Swift was my play of the day. Like, he was a lock, bro. He had nothing. He had nothing. Oh, just a sad,
You love to see it.
Hate them.
Anthony's soul is broken. I saw a number of comments. I don't remember if it was on Twitter or in our chat during this game where he's just like, it's starting to crack. He's like, maybe I am going to be a Rams fan after all. Yeah, losing 44-6 to the Eagles. No offense, Tommy. That could do that to somebody. Let's talk about an actual good game. Tennessee Titans in overtime defeat the Indianapolis Colts 34-31. Carson Wentz did and threw one of the worst interceptions you'll probably see all season, if not over the course of many seasons, in the end zone. Like flips it to his left hand as he's getting sacked, just kind of lobs it away for about the easiest pick six you can get. Otherwise, I mean, he had, I want to say, 2 or 3 touchdowns. The Colts jumped out to a 14-0 lead to start this game.
Pittman looked amazing.
Pittman really, really coming along. Jonathan Taylor, clearly one of the top, maybe 5 running backs in the NFL right now. But ultimately, Tennessee, even after all these high emotion wins that they've had, they still found a way to win this one.
I mean, A.J. Brown, I don't know if it... God, all the Titans players do the same crap. They just get really, really lucky on one play.
I nailed that
like
hire,
Brown.
by the way. I picked A.J. Brown on my... I know you didn't listen last week, Will. So I nailed the hire with A.J. Brown. I don't get a lot of wins on this show. I gotta, throw something out there.
Tommy almost had a come from behind victory in our DFS league, and I was not here for it. I was not a fan of that. But yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown, looked good. I mean, the Colts, Pittman looked great. I definitely think there's a narrative now that Hilton is a detriment to Pittman's success, right? For sure. When he's in, it's not as good. But yeah, man.
Tommy,
I'm too broken to talk about this game.
Oh yeah,
My king has been hurt. This is emotional torture for me.
Yeah, and we don't have to harp on it anymore because we talked about it at the top of the show about the impact that losing Derrick Henry will have on this Titans team.
My heart.
They're sitting pretty, 5-2. Have a very big lead for it only being week 8 in the AFC South. So hopefully they can withstand this loss. The upset of the season, topping the previous upset of the season, which was the Jets over the Titans, was the Jets over the Bengals, 34-31. And more importantly, Mike White, who? I don't know. Some guy named Mike White who's been in the league 3 to 4 years, comes in, 405 passing yards, the second biggest passing yard debut for any quarterback in the history of the NFL, behind only Cam Newton. And the Jets actually win a game against the team that, at least at that moment, was the number 1 seed in the AFC. Do we take anything from this? Was it just like, the Jets are going to jet next?
Bad.
Okay. The defense has actually been consistent and strong, but I guess you let up 34 points to the Jets. It was a very good game plan. I'll give them that for the Jets. It was a lot of short passes. I think his average average throw per attempt or yards per attempt was like less than 5. But then receivers got a lot of yak. Got a decent run game. Michael Carter's starting to look a little better each week. Do we think it's really just a bad week, or do we think this Bengals team is maybe not as good as we've been thinking? Because the Bengals have kind of been the team of the Pigskin Party podcast a little bit.
I mean, I think they're still good, man. I mean, they T. Higgins, great, and what's his name?
Tyler Boyd?
No, he's
Jamar Chase?
Disappeared. No.
C.J. Uzoma?
No, the
Joe Mixon?
Mixon always gets his, right?
Go through all the players till I get it.
So I think they're still there, man. I really do. I just think was an off week for their defense for some reason.
Yeah, they're always going to have a game like this because they have someone by the name of Zach Taylor as their head coach. Dude, my job here is to headhunt terrible head coaches, and Sirianni's on this list. Zach Taylor's on this list. Matt Nagy. This list is growing, but I feel like because he is the head coach, every handful of games you're going to get one of these as the Bengals, but kind of like how people are throwing away the game with how bad the Chargers looked against Baltimore. If they get a throwaway, then the Bengals also get throwaways as well, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about Herbie and stuff like in the Chargers in a little bit. But for me, kind of like what you guys said, I am throwing it away just to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, saying, no, this is like the Zach Taylor tax. All right, cool. So let's see how the next game goes. And if they look just as flat, then I would be concerned.
So let's go back to the Jets real quick then. Number one, what this tells me is Robert Saleh is getting his players to play above their talent level. Even though this is only their second win, they were against very good teams in the Titans and Cincinnati. And that is very promising if you're a Jets fan going forward. And number two, what does this mean for Zach Wilson? Does it mean anything? Are we looking at it? This is the most yards a quarterback has thrown for as a Jet since Vinny freaking Testaverde. This is the first time the Jets have scored more than 30 points in 2 to 3 years.
And they just spent the number 2 pick on the guy.
Yeah.
I don't.
But what if Mike White does this every week? Because
that's what I'm
Zach
saying.
Wilson injury is 3 to 4 weeks.
I don't think that
He's so annoyed with I interrupt.
I don't think that it's automatic, but I think if week in and week out Mike White plays like this, how can you not, right? Mm-hmm. I think what you would say is, all right, Mike White's going to come in. We're going to let him do his thing for the year. Zach Wilson's just going to go back to practice. He doesn't have to be the guy, right? And they're going to revisit Zach Wilson, right? Or they're going to move one of these two guys next year for a significant package, right? Like Mike White's significant package. That's what will happen.
That's the quote of the show. Mike White's significant package.
But that's what they're gonna do, man. I mean, it's I don't. I mean, you can't, right? He's gonna get Dacked or Tony Romo'd. It's like you just come in. You got if he keeps playing
Drew
like
Bledsoe'd.
that. I really don't think he will, though. I really don't think he's gonna keep that up. I think it was a one week thing.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is I would be shocked if Mike White is able to keep up this type of production, and I would also be shocked that even if Mike White looks solid, to kind of start him over your number 2 overall pick. And sorry, Brian, gonna have to take a tasteless shot because I feel like you take more shots on the Eagles than I do on the Dolphins, but they're not. Hopefully, they have to see what Miami did with Tua Tagovailoa and how they're handling everything. So I'd have to imagine, because they spent such a significant draft capital, unless Mike White absolutely continues to ball out, which I feel like may be unsustainable, but definitely the realm of possibility. I feel like there's almost no chance that they start someone like him over their number 2 overall pick, who they're envisioning has more promise than him.
I will say this: when asked about it at the press conference at the end of the game, Robert Saleh said anything's possible. He didn't get that coach talk Zach Wilson is our starter. He said, "Oh, anything's possible."
I mean, the dude literally just won him a game and played his heart out. You're not just gonna immediately be like, "Nah, this guy sucks."
So this next game, we don't have to spend too much time on. Went exactly as expected. Los Angeles Rams 38, Houston 22. The game was not as close as it might even seem even there, that 16-point differential. Most of those points by Houston were garbage time points scored at the end of the game. Davis Mills did manage over 300 yards, but it's because they had no choice but to pass. Cooper Kupp still absolutely dominant. Went over 100 yards with a touchdown again. He's on pace for something like 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. That's just unfathomable. You guys have any comments about this game, or can we just skip through it?
This is my point about, Houston scored 22. I mean, that's a lot for that Rams defense, right? For Houston, I don't know. That was kind of what I'm saying about.
Like I said, those touchdowns were all in the second half. I think they only had 3 points to start the second half, and so this was very much garbage time. But a couple touchdowns, right? I think they recovered an onside kick even. So they scored a touchdown, recovered an onside kick, scored a touchdown right afterwards. So I don't think that's a reflection necessarily of the Rams' defense long term.
Maybe.
Yeah, personally for me, this isn't a game I watched really closely because it didn't seem that interesting to me. And then
to watch it.
Exactly. So I don't have much to add except for everything that we kind of mentioned. Henderson looks like he's doing fantastic for the role that they need him to do, even with Cam Akers went down. But kind of like what everyone mentioned, Cooper Kupp just keeps stealing the show. And he's just, of course, right after Devontae Adams last year had a phenomenal year, Cooper Kupp, even without the addition of that 17 extra, or the one extra game, making a 17-game season, he's still having an unbelievable start. Just to continue to see him sustain it, now that is what's making a difference and making me kind of raise my eyebrow a little bit.
This next game was a surprise. New England Patriots 27, Los Angeles Chargers 24, and this game also wasn't as close. The Chargers scored a touchdown right at the end. It was a air bear pass to Josh Palmer to make it a little bit closer, but this was definitely Bill Belichick cooking up schemes, various pressures, disguising, throwing a lot of zone, and getting Herbert a little flustered, and it worked. On the other side of it, the Patriots really stuck to the run, the ground and pound. The Chargers are susceptible to the run. They're one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. And kudos to Mac Jones. He didn't play great in this game, but he didn't do anything stupid. Didn't make any turnover-worthy plays. Just did enough to shepherd this team. Herbert threw a couple interceptions. They weren't necessarily his fault, but there were still turnovers, and the Patriots get a win.
Isn't that like the moral of everything with Mac Jones, right? Is didn't do anything stupid, and that's that's what happened. But
and I think they knew that when they drafted him. They wanted somebody like Belichick believes in his defense. He believed in Josh McDaniels as a play caller. He just wants somebody to just shepherd this offense and not screw it up. Right?
Is Mike Williams a thing or is he not a thing? Because he was a thing for like a while, and then I'm not sure he's a thing anymore.
Well, Tommy can give some insight into that because he traded for Mike Williams right before in that dynasty league that he so graciously invited me into. I think the Chargers offense as a whole has not looked right the past few weeks, though. It's not like they're booming and Mike Williams is just not involved, which is what it's been in the past. Keenan Allen had a decent game. Eckler did great from a fantasy perspective because he gets like 9 or 10 targets a game. Also had a rushing touchdown where the entire offensive line just kind of pushed him in. But other than that, this offense just hasn't, since that Browns game where they won like 47-42, they just haven't quite had the same juice. Tommy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern has to be with the Chargers because when they had that off week against Baltimore, everyone kind of immediately said, oh, no, that's fine. This is still a high-powered offense. They have a great team all around. You just throw that one out. And then what happens is they go on a bye, and then now they play the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick's defense. But they said, all right, this is how they bounce back. They already had a bad game. They had a bye to kind of reflect and find themselves. And here we go. And Herbert did exactly what he did over in the Baltimore game. He really, really struggled. He was never in rhythm. And I think Will makes a great point about Mike Williams. Yes, I definitely did go out and pursue him, but I was never really sold on him. But because he's been quiet the past, I would say 3 weeks, which isn't really fair because there's a bye in there, that's kind of causing people to be a little bit more hesitant. But kind of like what you said, Brian, I think it's the fact that the entire Chargers offense looked out of sync. He's not the type of player that will feast when Herbert kind of struggles. Keenan Allen obviously will because he's their underneath guy. He's almost like the safety blanket. And Eckler touches the ball like 20 times a game anyway, so he'll get it by sheer volume. But Mike Williams is typically the big play guy. And typically if you're talking about Herbert having a bad game, that means he was going through his checkdowns and not really having a big play. So I definitely think he can only go as far as not what they scheme it to be, but if Herbert continues to struggle, I think Mike Williams is the one that has to pay the most.
So do we, the term air bear that you graciously gave him, Tommy, is that a derogatory term? Do we take away air bear if he's not playing well, or do we throw it out more if he's not playing well?
Check down bear.
Check down bear.
Here's the thing. I like how much credit I get from Tommy when he's like, Will makes a great point about Mike Williams. And my point was a question that I just said, is he a thing or not? So I love Tommy, and he's amazing, and he gives me way more credit than I'm due.
Agreed.
It's just me reading his big brain.
That's right.
All right, any last comments? Let's move on to this game. The next game we can skim over as well. An ugly game. Just when we think Urban Meyer gets his first win in London, they get a whole bye with plenty of time to prepare for Geno freaking Smith, and they just come out looking even worse.
You do realize that every single time you announce a game, you call him Geno freaking Smith. What do you have against the man?
It's kind of tied to. So I used to live in New York. He was the quarterback of the Jets. As a Dolphins fan, I would go to the Dolphins-Jets game every year. I went to a game where Geno Smith was the quarterback, and Rex Ryan was the quarterback for the coach for the Jets, and I want to say they let him pass the ball like 6 times. They were just running the ball over and over and just not getting anywhere, and they didn't change anything. Rex Ryan was so afraid to put the ball in Geno Smith's hands. So ever since then, it's been Geno freaking Smith. And he came back, and he came in relief of Russell Wilson, after that thumb injury a few weeks back, and he threw a couple touchdowns, and he almost let it. And Geno Smith. I'm like, no, guys, this isn't all of a sudden a new quarterback. This is Geno freaking Smith. he's not good.
Geno freaking Smith.
Geno freaking Smith.
But
You know what? The recipe for any bad quarterback: go up against the Jaguars.
That's
Because it doesn't
They're
matter who
bad
you are. Tua went off against Jacksonville. So, yeah, there you go. 31-7, Seattle. I regret. And Tommy, honestly, we both picked the
We
Jaguars.
drank the
here.
Kool-Aid.
We drank the Kool-Aid. We bought into the narrative that Urban Meyer, off his first victory, Trevor Lawrence had been looking better and better each week. And then they get an entire week off to rest up and prepare.
Who did I
They
pick?
just,
Did I get this right?
I think you picked the Seahawks. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks too.
Well, we have it in writing. You can go with whatever you want. By the way, I'm going to mention this again on the flavor of the week, but in case people aren't watching or listening to the flavor of the week, Will sent in his picks. He was out last week.
Oh yeah,
After
we
the
need to put
Thursday
this
night
on
game.
record.
After the Thursday night game, and who's the first list? Packers. I said,
Yeah.
well, you can't pick the Packers. The game already happened. This was on
Yes, I
Friday.
can.
He sent this to us.
I would
You
have.
can,
I would have
but it's not gonna
100%
count.
picked the Packers.
How are we
You
supposed to?
counted that as a loss?
100%
wrong with
counted
you?
that as a loss.
It's not a loss. You son of a bitch.
If you bet on the Packers on a sports bet on our sponsor DraftKings, if you bet on the Packers to win on Friday, do you think they would pay anything out for you for the game that happened Thursday night?
They wouldn't let me put it on Friday because
All right, so I'm not letting you put it into the picks.
That's not how that works.
That is exactly. I make the rules. That's exactly how that
Respect
works.
the picks, Brian.
I
Respect
think
the picks.
anybody would agree with my logic here. Denver Broncos 17, Washington Football Team 10. This is another one Tommy and I both got wrong. Tommy wanted to pick the Broncos, and in the last second flip-flopped back over to the Washington
Pivoted.
Football Team. I was convinced. This was one of my more confident picks, and it was close. They had a shot. Denver almost tried to give the game away at points. Some questionable play calling, especially towards the end of the game. But nonetheless, Denver gets the victory. No real standout things to mention here. J.D. Kissick was the top receiver, 83 yards, the running back. I don't have a lot to comment on this game. You guys have anything? I'm happy to move on.
Not really.
Neither of these
Yeah.
teams is very good. That's
No, they're both. I kind of view them through the same lens. And this is the last time I allow my NFC East bias ever take over. We know who they are. They're terrible.
And we've mentioned multiple times this was the team that Will planted his flag on, but this football team has got to be up there with the Dolphins and maybe even the Browns as far as biggest disappointments this season for sure. But Denver, they just gave away their best defensive player, and it's not looking great for them either.
The heart and soul of that team, man.
This
They got
game
Jerry
was.
Jeudy back. He's
They
really
did get
good.
Jerry Jeudy back. That's good. That certainly bodes well. They just lost Noah Fant to COVID, so they get one, they lose one. It's they
I
can't have all
don't
their
think
weapons.
you should or can say they lost him to COVID. Because, I mean, that kind of means things.
Can you really lose something
Okay,
you
fair
never
enough.
had?
I think Will's referring to that's like
His
basically
death.
saying he died.
Right, exactly.
Lost him to COVID. Fair enough, Will. I will grant you that one. He was
He
placed
did.
on the COVID-19 reserve list. There, we'll be
He
very
had the
specific with-
sniffles.
Yeah, the sniffles. We don't know if he's symptomatic. He might not be. They get tested regularly. Anyway, they won't be without Fant. They do have Jeudy back. He played. He got 4 catches on 4 targets. Cortland Sutton's still in there. Tim Patrick. They still have some weapons. Their offensive line, it's been iffy. And of course, they still have Teddy Bridgewater. So not confident about the Broncos going forward. Let's talk about a game that was spicy. New Orleans Saints 36, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27. Tom Brady just can't beat the Saints in the regular
Stop it.
season. No, I'm
Stop
just
it.
saying. I'm just stating facts.
Stop it.
This is not even opinion. This is
Facts.
literally facts. He got
Facts.
0-2 last season versus the Saints as a quarterback of the Bucks. 0-1 this season. His only victory was in the playoffs, and even in that playoff game, if you remember, he threw 3 interceptions. There is something about going up against this Saints team. Sean Payton has his number, whatever you want to call it. They lost Jameis Winston, who is done for the year. We didn't even mention that in the news section at the top. Trevor Siemian, former Broncos quarterback, came in. It didn't matter. The Saints beat the defending Super
It
Bowl
wouldn't have been the
champs.
same game if they would have had Antonio Brown. Really?
I don't
Really?
understand that sound drop. What is the bass have?
I think he just likes dunking on Will.
Okay,
I think he does.
if that's the case,
As
I'm
a
down with
Lions fan.
it. Yeah, shooting that Lions fandom. Just come to the Rams side. Just Anthony, just do it. So I mentioned earlier, this game ended. It looked like Brady had a shot, driving with a chance to win. Had a timeout, over a minute left, but no, he throws a pick six, ugly interception right to the defense. Has Tom Brady finally regressed, Tommy?
No, we got to go throw it over to Will first. The Buccaneers is kind of his team.
I wanted to hear from you first. Has Tom Brady hit his wall? Will.
No, absolutely not. I'm never gonna bet against the GOAT. This is just I was also surprised because they were pretty much going up against the third string quarterback, I guess, if you want to view it that way. And I mean, what was it? Like,
not view it that way.
Winston was knocked out pretty early in the game, right?
I want to say it was the second or third quarter, early third. But yeah, there was a lot of game left.
Yeah, there was like a ton of game left.
Antonio Brown, come on.
Gronk came in for 5 plays and had back spasms. And
I mean,
they don't really need him.
Lung.
He had just had broken ribs, right? Did he puncture a lung?
He had a lot of abdominal.
You're just making up injuries for him.
He had abdominal issues.
So Will, your Bucks lost and your Gators lost in the same weekend. How you feeling?
Why'd you have to do that?
I care.
I don't like you. You are a bad person.
I'm checking in on your mental health. You've got your Tebow Gator jersey right above your head.
I don't acknowledge the Florida football team, as I'll call them, going forward.
Oh, wow. Giving them the football team. Wow. Won't even give them their... The football team is not a good moniker to have this year. All right. I'm guessing you don't have any thoughts on this. So Bucks lose. Saints...
I just told you my thoughts.
Good
like, whatever. We'll see them again in, well, hopefully not the playoffs, but maybe.
Well, they have to play one more time as division mates. So let's move to Sunday night. Dallas Cowboys 20, Minnesota Vikings 16. Tommy and I both picked Dallas, thinking that Dak would be the quarterback. Find out right before game time, even though he looked, honestly, I was watching him warm up. He looked perfectly fine, but they decided to sit him. Didn't matter. Cooper Rush. This was the
That's why they sat him.
Week of the backup quarterback. So Cooper Rush making his first start on Sunday night. Ends up beating the Minnesota Vikings, who I don't have the stats in front of me, but Cousins had like less than 200 yards passing against the Dallas secondary that, yeah, they've had some turnovers, and Trayvon Diggs is a fun thing, but they've let up a lot of passing yards. What happened to this Minnesota offense? Yeah. How did the Vikings, with all those weapons and Kirk Cousins, and how did they not manage to score more than 16 points against this Cowboys defense?
Tommy?
I feel like this one right here was a bigger surprise. I almost wanted to pull a Will to be like, hey, because Dak's not playing, can I change my picks? But then when I saw them struggle to try to play a full game of football against the Cowboys, it brought me a lot of pain because, like I said, I was slowly jumping on that bandwagon. Brian, I even asked if there was space for me to hop on. I don't know if I cursed him or what happened, but even if it was to come down to, I feel like if I went to anyone and said, all right, Minnesota versus the Cowboys without Dak, everyone would pick Minnesota. And the fact that they just couldn't do it is causing a lot of concern. But I just felt like this past week was such a weird week where I'm not throwing out all the games, but I am definitely concerned. Some red flags going up, at least about Minnesota, because they're not like a top echelon team. They're someone that we're like, all right, they're not the best, but we can see them turning it on the second half to be scary. But I just don't see that anymore, unfortunately.
I will say this, the NFC is very top heavy. So there is room for a team like the Vikings to still squeak into like that number 7 wild card spot. But yeah, I'm with you. Good for the Cowboys. Dak is coming back next week to get a victory with him out. This is a Cowboys team that is very well rounded. Yes, they let up a lot of yards, but they get stops when they need it. Tommy, it's inevitable.
This will not be over quickly.
Guys, come on.
You will not enjoy this.
I'm already down with the Derrick Henry news. Oh boy, this is terrible.
All right, we'll let up for your sake, but like I said, this is going to be every week, man. They did this without Dak. It's not going to be pretty for you as an Eagles fan. The final game, Monday night.
Well, wait. Are we going to talk about I guess we're not, because we already passed it, but like what did the Cowboys see in Jalen Smith? Like, is he just done? I mean, the Packers had him for like 2 games.
He didn't even play. I don't even think he played a snap, did he? He wasn't activated.
I think he played a couple snaps.
Did he? The first game he didn't. I know he was brought over and he wasn't activated for that game. But
They must have
He's
saw
gone now.
something in him.
He's a free agent. So yet another story of like, something's going on there. But yeah, we don't have to linger on that too much. Final game, a surprise in a different way. The Chiefs actually won to even up to 4-4. But
Did they though?
Did they? They technically got a W in the win column to even up the record to 500, but by 3, 20-17. They completely changed their game plan. They did some adjustments. I'll give them that, where they were very, very committed to the short pass game. Tyreek, I felt, had like 23 receptions, but every one was like a 2 or 3 yard pass that he then had to take. He didn't even get 100 yards. I think he had over 10 receptions, and he ended with 94 yards. Mahomes, one of those interceptions, that interception was not his fault. He's had a lot of those tipped, and they're just not going his way this season. He did have a fumble. They recovered it, thankfully. But Kelsey in particular looks. There's something wrong. Is Kelsey in decline? That's my question. Is he injured? Is there something we don't know?
I mean, they're passionate players that are not used to losing, right? Like, so who knows what's this is doing? You know, like as Marshawn Lynch would say, you got to take care of your body, you got to take care of your mentals, and you got to take care of your chickens, right? And maybe there's something wrong with Kelsey's mentals. You never know. His chickens are fine.
Beast Mode would also say that he doesn't want to show his Uber Eats food because that's between him and his belly. But
in my belly.
That's right.
I love.
But here's the thing.
Did you see him? Was this the week that, or was it the week before that he dropped all the F-bombs on the?
That was last
cast?
week because it was the Seattle.
Dude, what a legend!
What a
legend.
legend.
where there was like just a horrible play call and he was like, "What the?"
Yeah. Exactly that.
Yeah.
On TV, so good.
He is a treasure to the National Football League. So I don't have anything to add on this game. Or Tommy, please give us.
No, I was just gonna add that I feel like all the concerns are absolutely valid at this point. I understand that a win is a win, but a lot of it has to fall on the fact that Patrick Mahomes, I think what it honestly comes down to is his confidence. It's not necessarily that he forgot how to play or he doesn't know how to read a defense all of a sudden. I feel like the years past, he played with such a swagger and they could be down by... I still remember the playoff game when they played against Houston when they started off terribly and they were down by like 20 points. And then the whole time, every time Patrick Mahomes was on the field, it still felt like, wait, they're down by 20, but like, why am I not feeling that that's enough against the Kansas City Chiefs? And guess what? They came back and won. But now, even though they might have like a 3-point lead on the freaking Giants and Patrick Mahomes is out on the field, normally I'm like, oh, there's a cold-blooded killer. It doesn't matter. But now I'm like, Patrick, don't try to do too much, bud. Maybe you guys should run it a little bit more, which is outrageous for me to say with, someone who's arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all times, or at least start to a season. But I think, honestly, something with his confidence is gone. Maybe it's, I don't want to speculate on what that could be, but I think for all the times you guys are always asking, Tommy, should I be concerned? I kept saying, no, it's fine. It's fine. Now I'm finally getting to the point. Maybe I'm just slow. Yeah. But now I'm saying, all right, you guys are all correct. You guys are right.
I'm there too. This 8 weeks, 4-4, and even the games they win are not looking right. We said it last week. We gave credit to Will, and you probably didn't listen, so I'll give you credit again. Focusing on this top-heavy Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill. If one of those is not operating correctly, so you've got Mahomes who's in his head a little bit, Kelsey who is clearly there's something like he's dropping passes, he's not running great routes. I saw him get bumped off the line by James Bradbury, a cornerback, a couple of times. He just looks like he's not into it.
Well, and Mahomes is bailing out of clean pockets.
But that's always been his thing, though.
Yeah, he always does that.
That's not new.
He's seeing ghosts, like.
Interesting.
No, I mean he could he had Kelsey on a very like a goal line type play. They were in the red zone. All he had to do was step up in the pocket and hit Kelsey, and he ended up bailing out to the right, and it was nothing. So who knows, man? He's not the guy anymore. He's not the guy.
And they have a big matchup coming up, so we will.
That's what I was about to talk about. And I don't see a path to victory for the Chiefs. I mean, obviously, which is crazy, right? Like crazy. But I think I would put it all on the Packers for that one.
Well, as we said earlier, we have changed the format. If you're used to listening to the main episode to get our game picks, we're going to do it on the flavor of the week. We are going to drop it earlier. Last week we had to drop it on Friday because Anthony was on vacation with his model girlfriend. But this week we will get the flavor of the week out on Thursday morning.
Smoke show.
with our preview and picks.
Where's the
for Week
boing
9.
sound for Anthony's girlfriend? I feel like we need that.
Anthony, give it for Will. Let's get a boing.
No, it's not for me.
It is for you. You're the one who always.
It's only
You
for
made
Will.
it so weird. It's not for me.
Dude, you're the one
Only-
who brings her
only
up
for
like
Will.
5 times a show. So
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
trying to gas Anthony up. Good for him.
Okay.
He's
All right.
winning at life.
So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move on to our DFS hires and flyers presented by DraftKings. And it's ad read time. First live YouTube ad read. So once again, can't edit this out. NFL
Nobody
fans
is excited for this except for you, by the way.
No,
You're like,
Tommy
yeah, I get to read
think
our
Tommy likes it.
sponsorship ad read.
I get pretty hyped when he gets it from start to finish,
Thank
all the
you,
way without
Anthony.
messing
See?
up.
I got a little rim shot from Anthony. Hey, give me my time, Will. Can we mute Will? Anthony, you have that power, right?
No.
Who's hungry? NFL fans, are you hungry for a big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team. Probably don't want to bet on the Chiefs at this point to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Not your best. You've done better.
Will threw me off because I started reading it, and then he just completely knocked me off kilter. And you know what? I need to be a professional. I need to be able to do it even with Will trying to disrupt me. Okay, so
I didn't do anything. It's fake news.
quick rehash of what the DFS hires and flyers segment is. If this is your first time listening,
It's where Brian loses and Tommy comes in second and I win.
that's
Actually fair. That's actually
not
a pretty good synopsis.
inaccurate. And you know what?
Not wrong.
Tommy filled in for you last week. Did a great job with his hires and flyers. But we are going to go back. Tommy can sit back and start making travel preparations for his Thomasy. You're in my head, Will. Will's in my head. Tommy's Fantasy Island. Rent free. So Will and I are going to go through every position for your DraftKings lineup. We will give both a hire, somebody who's higher priced, who we think is poised to have a good week and produce for that price, as well as a flyer, a lower priced value pick, either due to opportunity, matchup, or both, that we think is going to get you the return for that investment. We'll start at quarterback, and this is an obvious pick, and Will already mentioned that it's an obvious pick, but it's an obvious pick for a reason. So my hire at quarterback for the week, quarterback Josh Allen at 8,200 on DraftKings versus the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. We just mentioned they made Geno freaking Smith look good. Josh Allen's averaging 28.4 points per game. He has the rushing ability, which always gives a nice floor. Jacksonville is currently allowing a 74% completion percentage by opposing quarterbacks and nearly 9 yards per attempt. Both of those marks are second worst in the NFL. And the Jags are also allowing the worst QBR in the league. So this just seems like such a no-brainer option to put Josh Allen in your lineups. Will, who you got for your hire?
I think in cash, that's what you have to do, right? I mean, it's just so obvious. I think in tournaments, though, I'm gonna put another play there. I'm gonna drop down and save us $700, and I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers against that KC awful defense. You know, the hope here is that Rodgers has to play the whole game, right? And it's competitive, and they certainly can score against that defense. So,
what are you implying, that he wouldn't play the whole game? Like he gets injured?
No, what I'm implying is that the Jacksonville game may very quickly become uncompetitive, right?
But if Josh Allen has 3 or 4 touchdowns by that point,
I agree. That's what I'm saying. Josh Allen is the cash play. I think if you want to go for a tournament though and do some stacks, I think you could also go Aaron Rodgers. But I would go Josh Allen in cash for sure.
You want to do the flyer? We got to go back and forth, or we got to do the
I'll do mine. I'm listen. I like this game a lot. Your pick is a good one that you're gonna talk about, but I'm gonna go this again. Tournament play only. I'm gonna go Kirk Cousins against Baltimore, and you just saw that Vikings offense kind of do something. It did
something. That's a word for it.
It did something. So this is not going to be a popular play, but that's, when you want GPP type plays, that's what you want. But that Baltimore team, like, they're going to have to play, right? Like, this is not going to be a blowout on one way, you hope anyway. So I'm gonna go Cousins, man. I'm gonna see what we can do here, and I'm gonna probably do at least one kind of stack or maybe a super stack, and just hope for the best.
By the way, before I move on to my flyer quarterback, I just realized, so we're live on YouTube. There's a chat. Anthony, are you monitoring it? I didn't even think, this is our first time going live. Has anybody said anything? Would you actually let us know if somebody said anything? Yes, you'll let us know, or yes, somebody said something.
Wait, are people actually watching? Because that'd be very impressive if we actually have watched.
You can only give him, like, press 1 or press 2 options, Brian. You can't make him
You're right. I did not give him his actual sound drop options. I will say this, Anthony, if somebody actually asks us something, you can come on camera and tell us what it is, because we're not monitoring the chat. So if you ask us something and you're like, these jerkwads aren't talking to me back.
No, you got to play no. If someone asks something, play the lion sound effect. We'll know something's wrong.
Wrong?
We just got to do like the Michael Scott thing. Like, oh my
God,
it's happening.
Why are we playing a lion? Well, something must be wrong, because certainly we wouldn't be celebrating anything.
Well, but why would somebody chatting with us, why would that be something wrong? Like, I didn't like how you phrased that.
Oh my God.
Anyway, okay, moving on. My flyer.
Abnormal.
My flyer at quarterback this week, I'm very happy to say, it's actually Tommy's flyer last week. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa at only 5,800. 5,800 on DraftKings. First, the Texans. Tua's averaging over 23 points per game since coming back off the IR, which is over the last 3 games. This is a Dolphins offense, believe it or not, that ranks 4th in pass attempts. This is not a team that's handing the ball off. And you can say what you want about having more balance, and it's surprised that they don't have more, but this is a team that is throwing a lot against the Texans defense that is allowing 30.1 points per game. That is the worst in the NFL. So good combination, great matchup. The Dolphins need a win. This is a good time, and at that price of 5,800, I think Tua is a great flyer pick at quarterback if you want to save some money there. Moving on to running back, another obvious play, but it's just such a good play, especially with the circumstance of the Saints. Alvin Kamara, 8,200, which I think is low based on the usage he should get in this game against the Falcons defense. He's averaging, without all the circumstance, over 20 points per game, but the entire offense now runs through him. It was already running a lot through him in both the ground game as well as the pass game with Jameis. And now with whether it's going to be Taysom coming back from his concussion protocol or Trevor Siemian, this is going to be all about the running backs. They brought in Mark Ingram, a great number 2 to spell him, but Alvin Kamara, he's just got to be looking at 25 to 30 touches a game. And the Falcons, on top of all of that, ranked 28th against running backs on DraftKings. So this just seems like such a no-brainer, especially in cash games.
Well, right. I mean, you're right. It's definitely a cash game play. I think a couple things. He's not my pick, so I'm going to talk about it here. I think there's a very viable path for Mark Ingram to have a really good game, because I don't think this game is going to be competitive at all.
Did you put 2 flyers? I'm looking at the show notes now.
Yeah, I did, because I'm not going to
put 2 flyers.
I did, because I'm talking about him right now before I got to my flyer.
Okay.
So Mark Ingram could be sneaky. It's not likely, but it's definitely a tournament play. We also saw some games.
Ingram's 4,600, by the way.
We also saw some games last year where it should have been Kamara season. I've just kind of been Kamara seasoned out, I guess, and I'm just jaded. So, yeah, he's probably the play, but whatever. I'm gonna go a little bit different here, and I'm just gonna go. I like a lot of running backs this week. I really, just going back to that Chiefs game, I really like Aaron Jones. Right, they'll probably try to keep it out of Mahomes' hands. And plus it's Casey's defense. Aaron Jones could have a really good game. I'm just gonna plant my flag in Austin Eckler though against Philly. Like, the dude's usage is just incredible.
Uncredible?
Incredible.
Okay.
He's good,
Oh,
even though
okay.
he looks like a
Will speak
45-year-old
good.
middle-aged man. 7,900 against
A
Philly.
jacked 45-year-old middle-aged man.
Correct.
That guy's
And
a
then for
rock.
my flyer, I'm going to go back down to Old Faithful. His price is just too low. Mitchell against Arizona, 5,800. I don't love the matchup. I just love the usage and the talent.
Fun fact, I haven't bought tickets yet, but I'm planning on going to that game on Sunday. Arizona against San Francisco, Levi Stadium, 15 minutes from my house. Hopefully Kyler plays. It's one of the reasons I haven't bought the tickets yet, because I don't really want to go see Colt McCoy at quarterback for Arizona.
I'm gonna
My
tell Colt you said
flyer,
that.
here's what?
I'm going to tell Colt you said that.
He's a
Okay,
longtime listener of the show.
All the
That's right.
times that you and Colt McCoy are hanging. If he's a long-time listener, Colt, come on. We're going to start having guests again. That's one of our teases. We're going to start having guests again next week. So Colt McCoy, come on the show. I won't disparage you as I did just then. A flyer. Here's a little bone I'll throw to Tommy. My flyer of the week. How about some Boston Scott action?
Oh, you love to hear it.
5,200
You
on
don't, no.
DraftKings
You really
against the Chargers defense. Surprisingly, it was not Gainwell, and it was, in fact, Boston Scott. And even Jordan Howard sighting with the Eagles, who I hope for their sake actually moved to more of a run-first offense, because clearly it worked. This is a team who's run at a historically low pace prior to this game. They're like, oh, Sirianni's like, wait a second, maybe we should try actually running the ball against a team like Detroit with a bad run defense, and it worked. So 18 points last week in the blowout win against Detroit. The Chargers defense is 32nd in DVOA against the run. This is a team that is designed to stop the big play. It is not designed to stop the run. If Sirianni is smart, which fair enough, he may not be, he will stick to a run-heavy approach again, which means at that price of 5,200, Boston Scott could be primed to go off. Moving on to wide receiver. This is all about the stack, and yes, it's an obvious play again, but I want as much of the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack as I can against that Jaguars defense. And I'm angry. I picked the Jags to win. I'm angry. I just want the Bills to just trounce the Jaguars this week. Stephon Diggs, only 7,700, averaging 9 targets and a touchdown each of the last 2 games. Jacksonville's currently 31st on DraftKings against wide receivers. DK Metcalf, number 1 receiver for Seattle, just scored 2 touchdowns against
With
that
Geno
Jacksonville.
freaking Smith.
With Geno freaking Smith. Here's a spoiler alert. Stephon Diggs does not have Geno freaking Smith as his quarterback. He has MVP
yeah, but you
candidate
know
Josh
what's
Allen.
going to happen, though, right? Like, you do know. It's going to be
No,
the
tell
Cole
me, enlighten
Beasley
me.
game. It's going to
Why
be the
would
Cole
this-
Beasley
no.
game. You know what kind of week Cole Beasley had last week? It was fantastic.
Well, that's because the Dolphins have Byron Jones and Xavier Howard on the outside. Their susceptibility is over the middle in the slot.
Yeah, but
So,
Diggs
a
also
guy like
feasts
Cole
on
Beasley-
man for sure. Like, Diggs is a man-beating type wide receiver.
And Diggs had a touchdown. Diggs had a touchdown this week. But this is a week where, like I said, that's why I highlighted DK, because I had a feeling you might throw something back like that. DK is a clear number 1 outside receiver, and he scored twice against this Jags defense, so I think we're going to see similar things. It's about time Stephon Diggs had a big week.
And again, this is the play because of the saving money. I'm just going to go back to my what's the thing that I did? Aaron Rodgers. And I'm going to stack
the
him.
one you
I'm gonna
picked like 5 minutes ago.
I'm going to stack him with Devontae Adams, dude. I mean, like, there's a bunch of good plays, but if the Chiefs can make this game what it should be in terms of competitiveness, Devontae Adams, like, he is the number 1 target there. I'm just going to go back to him. I just like it. I love it. I want more of it. So that's my play there. And then I'm not sure he's there yet. I think we're a little early, and the usage was pretty good, really. Again, I just kind of like this game. I hope this game is going to be a lot. If you want to go, basement hunting, Bateman is $4,000 against Minnesota.
I love the price.
So yeah, exactly. It's definitely a price play. I would not do it.
And according to you,
otherwise.
this is going to be a shootout where Kirk Cousins goes off. So Baltimore, Lamar Jackson
maybe
might
not.
have to throw the ball.
But if he does, yeah.
I like the price. So I am going for my flyer, Jerry Jeudy, at 5,000 versus this Dallas defense. This one I don't believe it'll be a shootout, but I believe Dallas is going to score a lot of points against this now Von Miller-less Broncos defense, which means the Broncos will have to throw the ball to try to keep up. as I mentioned earlier, they just lost Noah Fant, so all the targets are really going to be funneled to those wide receivers. Judy came back. He's healthy. He had 4 catches last week. I think you're going to see Bridgewater targeting him a lot against a Dallas secondary that, unlike the Vikings tried to do, is very susceptible. That is really where you can attack this Dallas defense. The Cowboys are 25th versus wide receivers on DraftKings. And as I mentioned earlier, Dak will be back. This Cowboys team is going to score points, so game script is definitely going to be in the Broncos' favor. Moving on to tight end.
Cortland Sutton game, Inc.
Cortland Sutton, yeah, it could be
or
a Sutton
Tim
game.
Patrick.
Sure, just disagree with all my picks and just throw in another receiver that's on it. Yeah, that's the way to go.
Not only God also disagrees with all your picks apparently because your DraftKings performance week in and week out.
We can save that for the theology pod. Moving on to tight end, Mike Gesicki, only 4,900 against his Texans defense. Here's my stack with my Tua. I'm gonna have at least one lineup with Tua and Gesicki. Actually, these were Tommy's plays last week too. So heads up.
It's a fantastic play.
Kudos to there.
He's the tight end of the week, I think.
He is definitely the tight end of the week. This is a tight end who, since Tua has come back from injured reserve, so the last 3 games, he's averaging nearly 18 points per game as a tight end. As I mentioned earlier, Miami, 4th in the NFL in pass attempts, so there's lots of volume there. And the Texans are 29th against tight ends. This is about as no-brainer. I think I'm probably going to have Gesicki in all my lineups for tight end, whether I'm stacking him with Tua or not. I'm going to go ahead and do my flyer. Well, no.
Hang on, I'm going to talk about Gesicki
Go ahead.
a little bit.
Give your crazy disagreement with me now.
No, I just said I 100%. He's my tight end of the week.
Okay, there we go.
This is what a guy like Gesicki should be for Tua, right? Like, this is what should happen. You should rely on a guy that's that athletic, that good, and also like the safe option, which is your tight end, right? So I'm just glad that he's finally being used somewhat to his potential because he's been drastically underused his first little minute in the league. That's it. That's all I got. I was just agreeing with you.
There you go. Okay, look, I'm not used to you agreeing with me, so threw me for a curve.
Brian's blindsided
Blind
right
squirrel
now.
gets a nut.
I am going to ignore that comment and go right on to my flyer at tight end. How about a little Tyler Conklin action? Only 3,000. Here's your Vikings play. Here's your Kirk Cousins stack. Only 3,000 if you want to punt at the tight end position versus the Ravens defense. Tyler Conklin has averaged over 10 points. Not just average, he has scored over 10 points each of the last 2 games, which at a 3,000 price, that's 3x right there. The Ravens are 31st against tight ends on DraftKings. My flyer was CJ Uzoma a couple weeks back when the Bengals played the Ravens and Uzoma went off. So I'm kind of sticking with that whole formula. If he just gets 6 points, bare minimum, you've got 2x there and it pays off. So if you're looking to save some money, punt the tight end position, Tyler Conklin for Minnesota. I throw it over to you, Mr. Southern.
I agree. I had to pick somebody else.
2 in a row, Tommy. 2 in a row.
I had to pick somebody else because I did, and I just went to Cook against Philly at 3,300.
I went straight to my flyer. You didn't give your hire yet.
Oh, I'm gonna go. I did. I said it's Gesicki. However, if you want to be a little different, again back to that game, you could go Andrews. I'm gonna go Gesicki, but you could go Andrews. I just love that game. I'm gonna bet the over and just hope and pray that I'm gonna be really rich. But yeah, so that's what I did. Andrews for me. Defense.
And Jared Cook at flyer.
Yeah, and Jared Cook at flyer. Defense, I'm gonna go first because your defense is better that you picked. So I'm gonna go Bills against the Jags. It's an away game for the Bills, but that offense is horrible. What's James Robinson's status? Is he is he okay?
Iffy. No, he hasn't been ruled out, but I was actually considering Carlos Hyde as my flyer running back, not because that matchup is horrible, but because he got 6 catches. I mean, he was involved in the passing game, and he's dirt cheap right now. And if Robinson's not in, he is the starting running back. So it hasn't been determined, but as of now, I would say it's not looking great for Robinson to play in this game, but there's still a chance.
Is like the Jaguars' offense saving grace.
Yeah.
So
The only thing worth watching.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with the Bills. I mean, you could go with yours too, but I'm gonna go 4K versus Jacksonville.
So my higher defense, Bill Belichick versus Sam Darnold. Enough said. So the Patriots defense is 4,100 against that Panthers offense. Sam Darnold has looked great at the beginning of the season when they were playing bad competition, and really, really bad when they were playing better competition. This Patriots defense has been known. They've made Sam Darnold see ghosts in the past. So I just think that Darnold's going to have a little PTSD as soon as he lines up across this Patriots defense at 4,100. I think this could be a prime play. And my flyer for the week, let's go on the other side of the ball. Let's do the Panthers defense. If you want to punt defense at 2,600, the Panthers defense has scored at least 8 points in 6 of their 8 games this season. A lot of that is due to the fact that they get to the quarterback. This Patriots offensive line has been pretty banged up this season. Mac Jones, doesn't have a lot of turnover-worthy plays, but he's not exactly gangbusters. There's some opportunity there to get to him and make some plays. So I'm not necessarily going to play the Panthers in a lot of lineups, but if you want to punt, I like that.
I'm going to do it.
I don't understand this next pick, but please enlighten me.
I'm going to do it. And, look, it's a tournament play, and this normally goes against you when you do this, and this is crazy. But let's go. Let's do this. Packers 2,800 versus KC, right? If you look at the Packers defensive performance, right, from a fantasy scoring perspective, it has been pretty steady, right? And we've seen how the Chiefs are playing lately. This is not cash, and you're not going to feel good clicking that button. You are not. It's going to hurt. But I think you could, if you need to save some money, you could go dirty and you could get there. On the site that shall not be named, and I think actually might be one of the plays of the
AKA the platform that does not sponsor us.
Correct. I think it's the Cowboys defense against the Broncos is the play. Just from Teddy Bridgewater, and they have nothing to speak of on offense anymore, and their heart just got ripped out of them. So,
and the Cowboys have had a number of turnovers and defensive touchdowns, especially from Trevon Diggs. So I definitely like the upside.
That's what I'm going with, actually. But you could go with these also. I'm going to do it. I'm going to play the Packers against Kansas City because I just think that the Kansas City is playing that poorly.
Watch, this is the week that it finally comes together.
100%.
So let's give some shout outs to our DFS winners from last week. We're actually already at over an hour and a half because we're just having fun and broadcasting live here. So in our free DraftKings League, which once again, if you're listening or watching for the first time, we have a free, 100% free weekly contest, DFS contest on DraftKings. All you have to do to enter is just email us at pigskinpartypodcast@gmail.com or send us a DM on Twitter at official PPPod, and we'll make sure to send you a link to enter the contest. So we have coming up on 50 people in the league now. 23 of them had entries this past week, and the winner, first place, for the second win and third time placing, playoff Vound, aka Ken Fraser, with over 200 points, winning $35. Ken, congratulations. If I'm correct, I believe Ken is Canadian. I've already sent him some money for winning in the past, so I'm pretty sure I'm correct there. Ken, congrats. Thanks for playing, and great job winning again. Second place is
if you're Canadian, do you have to send him what is do they trade beaver pelts? Or what is the
I believe it's if Labatt Blue. What was the we had
maple syrup? Is it you're gonna send him 4 metric gallons? Is that what it is? Metric gallons? Is that what you're gonna do?
Do they use the metric in Canada? I don't even know.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's not a gallon.
Okay, probably not. Maple syrup
4
beer.
4 milliliters of syrup.
Insert Canadian joke here. Great job, Ken. Appreciate you playing. Second place, GN Keith with a 192.44, $15 for him.
Stud.
And $5 in third place for Timex2132 with 176.56. If you want your winnings, just email our code word of the week, Downtown AJ Brown. Once again, code word Downtown AJ Brown.
Here we go.
pigskinpartypodcast@gmail.com or send the code word to us on Twitter at officialpppod. Quick recap of our season-long DFS league, host league, on the platform that shall not be named. Will won week 8, also won week 7. Current host standings, Will's in first with 1,015.34.
Yeah, love to see it. You just
Tommy,
love to see it.
941.28 in second place. So beating me, who's in third place and last place in the entire league, but we don't have to go there. Still a lot of weeks left. at 9:20. I'm only 21 points behind Tommy, so still anything can happen.
Oh, wait, I got something to talk about though.
Okay.
This is
We're
good.
over an hour and a half, but please, we still
Okay,
have an
fine.
episode to
I
record.
won't do my giveaway topic thing that I was gonna say. No,
Okay.
that's fine.
Can it be quick?
I got an extra Raven sticker sent to me by mistake by Amazon. So I feel like at some point, if you would like to win a pretty sweet resin raven
You're just-
resin
I don't even know where you're going
ravens
with this.
booster,
There you go.
you can do that. We'll figure out a way to get.
Well, I'm actually gonna go ahead and say that we have a halftime show, the halftime sports app. If you want to download halftime, it's on either the Apple Store or Google Play. We have a live halftime audio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we have a guy who's at every show, TP Embiid. He's a Ravens fan, so I think we're gonna get that to him because he has been a trooper. Love
Yeah,
hearing.
I got an extra one.
Oh, there we go. So in that case, yes, revert back. If you want a Ravens to whatever Will was telling you to do, send us an email, pigskinpartypodcast@gmail.com, DM official PP Pod on Twitter. Let's wrap this up, guys. We successfully did our first live show. I realized as we started the show that I had a description from 2 weeks ago when we first tried to do the live show. So the first few people to tune in were like, wait, week 6 recap. What is week 6? So apologize once again. We got the thing working. Give us give us some credit for that. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in. We will drop this as a regular podcast episode as well. Will, Tommy, any last words before we hop on and then record our flavor of the week, which will not be live?
Go Birds.
Go Birds. He knows. Will knows. I missed him.
There you go. So thanks again for tuning in. I guess we're not going to have our outro music on the live video because I don't think Anthony has a sound drop. But thank you as always for listening, and make sure to stay tuned for the flavor of the week.
Go Birds.